So my name is Malik, and Sarah is in the crowd. Won't be joining me up here. But this is a little snapshot of our team. There's four of us. We're a combination of technical folks and people that come from the nonprofit industry. But I thought I'd start by giving my background because it turns out it's very relevant for for the reason why Collective exists today. So before starting Collective, the last 5 years, I was a late stage software investor. My entire job was to look across all of what was working in the innovation space. What types of uh, human behaviors are we seeing that's happening? And the thing that I was the most obsessed with was this phenomenon where people were spending essentially the cost of a Netflix subscription, but just giving it to one person who sits in his living room and makes YouTube videos all day. I was like, how is that possible? And we invested in this company called Patreon, which may be familiar to some people here today. But for those that are not, Patreon is a platform for content creators, primarily like YouTubers, anyone that does any type of skill to build community, publish content directly. But that's not actually how it started. When I was getting to know the founders of Patreon, I was really impressed by what they did for creators to solve a really big need. That really big need uh, was essentially that creators were starting to see terrible engagement on social media. So if you're a YouTuber and you start to see that only 10 to 20% of your followers are seeing your content, that is terrible. If you're That's your entire livelihood that relies on engagement. So essentially, they built a way for all of your content that you're producing to be published directly to all of your followers. And they built spaces that were entirely revolved around that. And that was the real innovation for what digital marketing can be. So I essentially, and then on top of that, they built payments. And when we invested, they were around like $100 million of ARR, only on processing payments for people to donate on a recurring nature to content creators. So for me, I was like, I'm pretty sure that there's a massive sector of our economy that relies on both marketing and donations, and that's the nonprofit sector. So we really just started talking to people and getting to and asking them about how they feel about digital marketing. The nonprofit sector really, really struggles with digital marketing in many ways, primarily on social media. There's a study out there that shows that the average nonprofit for their average Instagram post gets 4% engagement. That means 4% of their followers see their average post. When you ask people how they feel about this, they're pissed. They spend a lot of time and money, whether it's hiring a firm to manage their social media, whether it's hiring multiple people to post several times a week, and they're not seeing any of the returns. So what we've done at Collective is essentially reimagine like how these spaces can be built around their content, how they're telling their stories. And we did the exact same thing that Patreon did. That exact same thing was to rebuild and reimagine how the content is being delivered to the followers. 4% engagement is never going to be good enough. On Patreon, you get roughly open rates of 70, 80% for all of your content. That is transforming. And then every single time that you post for what you're doing, whether it's you're an artist that says like, hey, I have a new song, if 70% of your followers see that and with the email that they get are directed back to your Patreon page, it feels different and they can give directly and it's a more streamlined experience. So what we've done is build a completely unified home, content, community, recurring donations, all in one. And what we're working towards is giving organizations the ability to change their ask from, hey, will you give us money, please? That's the typical ask. To, will you join our community? Collective is essentially, I like to call it a semi-public forum for people. Going to a potential donor and giving them the ability to be publicly associated with your organization is transforming. This is just a list of some of our features. The one that I will really highlight here is audience management. And this is actually how I'm most excited to collaborate with Blackbaud. It's really hard if you have an email list of 5,000 people, 10,000 people that's probably managed in the CRM somewhere to actually make sure that all of your content is going to them when you want it to go to them. So that means that's why we're building an integration with Razor's Edge and hopefully a few other Blackbaud products. But we also are going to be completely agnostic and build integrations with all of the nonprofit CRMs out there. This is just a quick snapshot of a lot of what I said earlier. What is the difference between a subscription network and social media and websites? Direct publishing is very, very, very important. That's the core of what Collective will always be built on, but also the ability to build community, to have a space that's customized to you where you're not beholden to Meta's algorithms to determine if any of your posts do well. So where are we today? We've been building this for about a year, and we're very, very, very hands-on with the first few organizations. And we're actually running them through programs where we are building their profiles for them, building their pages for them, running campaigns, and really focus on getting their lowest hanging fruit. So that means sending direct emails to their entire email list and getting them set up to go. So what we're really trying to do is get them going for their first 10 plus recurring donors. This is just a snapshot of some of the handful of the first few organizations that are signed up. They're very excited, primarily because our go-to-market is entirely focused on showing before we ask. We ask them to get involved. That means that we are building their entire spaces, and we want our initial impact, our initial connection with them, for them to see their spaces on Collective and be like, wow, you made us look really good. And then from there, our goal is to have their Collective page be their favorite way to fundraise. So this QR code will take you to a way to sign up to become one of our first few cohorts. Yeah, that's it for us. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks.
Very, very cool concept. So what type of organization in the nonprofit world do you think is going to benefit most from this service or activity?
Yeah. Generally speaking, any organization that uses Instagram a lot. That may sound like it's a small portion of the ecosystem, but really we found that 90+% of nonprofits that we've talked to and have met are not only like using Instagram sporadically, but on average posting multiple times a week.
Talk a little bit more about your balance between focus on engagement versus focus on recurring donors.
It's really all of the above. So it's our pitch to nonprofits is not so much that like we want you to start by focusing on engagement and then go into recurring donors, but it's really we kind of say both of these are incredibly important, and because our entire payment flow is designed to be recurring first, we really want to make it obvious to a potential donor. It's actually a couple of extra clicks to make a one-time donation on Collective. So when you are going there for the first time, you'll see we are very focused on making it membership oriented, but we actually view them as being tied together.
And are the nonprofits able to tie the content to a specific campaign? So
not yet,
okay.
But we are working on that. It's pretty, I think, high up on our product roadmap. The ability to run campaigns, I think, is very important.
Great. Question?
I'm pondering. Sorry, I had the ponder face. So as a prospective member of a collective in a community with many nonprofits on a collective, I could be asked to be members of multiple collectives, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And how does that, given currently you were saying you're spending a lot of time with the nonprofits helping them develop their content, how do you see that scaling over time or being enabled more by technology?
Yeah, so on the content generation, we're really focused because we've built an integration with Instagram. That was the first integration that we ever built. We're a little bit agnostic as to what the content actually is, and we want to help them identify what's like the long shelf life content that tells their story the best. As far as how that scales over time, that's something that we hope to learn by being very, very hands-on over the first few cohorts that we run. Is like, is it easy for nonprofits to identify what's the long shelf life content that tells their story the best? We found that for most organizations, it's kind of, you set it up and you forget it, right? Like it's if Collective exists as a content library that's easily accessible for people in a different way that Instagram is today, and they understand that by joining a collective that they're receiving the constant updates in a different way than an email newsletter, then that's what we're most focused on, because we don't want organizations to view us as being something that will be just another tool for them to post somewhere else.
Yeah, thanks. One more. So do the orgs themselves have input into and/or transparency to those algorithms so that as you're drawing on making those decisions, they can see how they're being made and help guide and influence what content represents them?
Yeah, absolutely. They have full control. They have full control over who sees what when. What we want to grow Collective into over time is being a network similar to Patreon, where you can discover creators based on your particular interest. You can do the same thing based on nonprofits, primarily driven by geography as well as interest.
Thank you.
I don't think we talked about how you're monetizing.
Yeah, pretty standard in terms of processing payments. So we are probably going to be priced a little bit lower than the Patreons of the world, but just around where most nonprofit donation processing platforms are.